everyone. Welcome to VCTV. By the way, happy Friday. Happy Friday to all the speakers. Happy Friday to all the viewers. And welcome to VCTV, another episode of VCTV, which is the Venture Capital TV from La Token. And the whole idea, the whole purpose, whole goal of VCTV is to connect speakers like yourselves who are investors or also founders of companies with the founders in our network, within our community, because the founders that we have in a community, the reason they are there because they're looking to fundraise. They're looking to fundraise via equity. They're looking to fundraise via token sale. There are different ways, crowdfunding. So there are different ways to, alternative ways to raise funds these days. So these people are looking for ideas from investors, experienced investors like yourself as well, to guide them, to mentor them, to help them scale. Some best practices coming from investors and successful founders like Roy, and best practices coming from investors like Karan and Itai. We're going to touch base on that a little bit as well. Today's topic is very, very critical and something that I'm going to touch upon for the very first time on my panel. This is a weekend panel, weekend episode of VCTV, guys, and we have two guys and one arena regular speaker, I guess. Yes. So let's make it a little fun, engaging as well. At the same time, it's about content marketing. It's about PR, public relations, and it's also about big data analytics, obviously. So we choose these topics because it's very much relevant to what's happening right now, especially with the coronavirus lockdowns, people inside their homes, we can't travel, we can go to any conferences, nothing. So it's very much important for a startup to understand how can they use these digital mediums, how can they use social media, how can they use content marketing to reach out to the target audience, and how are investors looking at this sector, So that's the whole idea about this session. So we would like to get more and more insights from all of you so that our viewers can take back a lot from you guys today. So that's about VCTV. That's about the topic. So myself, Sunny Mohanty. So I'm the regional director of La Token. I'm based here in Singapore. And I host these shows Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. Singapore time without a miss. And I love hosting the shows. And I love speaking to people like you. Lots of huge information coming out from all of you, So yes, we're all set. And I'd like to start with introductions from all of you, because today on my panel, we have got two new speakers and two regular speakers. And so I'd like to start with the new speakers. Itai, welcome to VCTV, the weekend episode of VCTV. Please start with a short intro about yourselves, whatever you just told me offline, and we go from there. Thank you.
My name's Itai. I'm based in Tel Aviv, Israel. I'm part of a couple of marketing agencies, all under the same roof, Inbound Junction and Market Across. We've been around for about 6-7 years. One of our kind of brands is more B2B SaaS, and the other one is more of a blockchain fintech. Under that hat, we've been working in the space for a long time. I think we even assisted La Token on their ICO, worked with companies like Binance, Neo, Polkadot these days, eToro, et cetera, doing PR, content marketing, anything around earned media, influencers, social media amplification, a bit of kind of strategy and that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's basically it.
Excellent. Good to know about the background. Thank you, Itai, for that introduction. Next, I have Karan Veer from India, who's just joined us for the first time.
Sunny.
Yeah, short
Thank
intro.
You, Sunny. Yeah, hi. I am from Windrose Capital. We are an early stage fund focusing on pre-Series A rounds on Indian technology companies, focused broadly into two areas, fintech and B2B technology. Trying to support founders from different fields under these two themes.
Excellent. Thank you, Karan. We're going to hear more insights about investments from you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Roy, welcome back. How are you today? Happy
Very
Friday.
well, thank you. Happy Friday. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very excited. End of the week, but still I love VCTV, so I'm just very excited.
So yeah, just a little bit of background as usual. I'm a CEO of Tweak, a personalization software company. Was incubated at an incubator with similar purposes like Itai mentioned, the Risk Incubator, which is also a digital marketing agency. 23 years of doing startups, and that's just about it.
Wow, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're going to hear a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge and to share. Thank you, Roy. I'm going to take some questions from you later. Last but not least, I have the lady on my panel who is back. I was wondering where she's gone. So the crypto superwoman who is back now, probably in good health now. Reina, over to you. How are you feeling today? First of all, how are you doing? How are you feeling today?
Good, I'm good, thank you. It's, nowadays flu is like I had a flu, guys, so, but the world is like, oh no, you're sick, you're gonna die. No, I'm fine. It's just the cough and everything, so, but thank you for asking, I appreciate it. I've missed you guys a lot, but my voice was completely gone, so it's a pleasure to be back. My name is Irina Litchfield. Many know me as a crypto superwoman. I am president of Lumeria. Lumeria is where capital meets innovation. We work with small market cap companies, really connecting segregated global markets is our goal. I'm founder of Blockchain Cubed. Blockchain Cubed is a blockchain integration company. I've been in blockchain for almost 8 years, so financial technology is something that is very dear to me. I've been in it for almost 15 years now. And digital marketing is important now more than ever. Obviously in the crypto world, supplements, I'm owner of Keto Credible as well. So I'm really, I kind of got the deep knowledge of the way the digital marketing world works through kind of this company. Here in Austin, we have an internet marketing party. It's one of the oldest internet gathering places. David Gonzalez is a dear friend of mine, and he holds this monthly gatherings where top speakers from all over the world travel to talk, to inspire. And so I go to support him. And so I learned a lot about that. And I'm really excited to talk about this today with you guys because, again, because we are so personally, physically disconnected right now, digital marketing and connectivity is kind of a lifeboat, if you would, for us and for so many businesses. So for businesses to be able to adapt to this is very important.
Absolutely. Rightly said, Rina. Thank you so much. And we are done with the introductions. And welcome back, Rina. We missed you a lot. So guys, thank you so much for the introductions. We are all set. We know each other, what we do, which country we are representing, like Itai from Israel. So is Roy, Karan, India, and Irina, we know she's where she's Texas from. She's from Texas, yeah. So yeah. So let's take the questions of the session. I really wish to know, Isabel, because this is the first time covering this topic on my panel. So I'd like to start with Itai, who's been involved with a lot of PR marketing with the crypto exchanges, the blockchain companies in Israel and India. That there is a collaboration there happening. I just heard you guys speaking about collaborations between the Israel tech and the India ecosystem. So please take us through our rundown, like what's happening in the space. Itai, over to you.
What's happening in the space? Well, I think that we're in general, in the global blockchain ecosystem, we're starting to see a bit of maturity when it comes to people understanding what they are. Am I a product company? As in, do I have a wallet or an exchange? Do I have a tangible product for a B2B or B2C? Then I'm starting to build what's called a value proposition, differentiation, all these things that are old school for any kind of product company. Other ones are starting to become literally just types of financial assets. There's a lot of early to the game Asian-based or American-based protocols that today are almost only seen as a financial asset, and most of their marketing and product development are different types of ways you can use that financial asset through derivatives, through staking, through whatever. So, and there's just more and more, and I guess the playbook is being written all the time, but people are starting to understand what am I actually trying to achieve and how do I do that, and they're starting to develop what does that mean product-wise. So it's the first time I have companies talking to me about SEO, conversion points, things that are really, really basic for any, again, Roy has been talking about those things, I'm sure, for 15 years, but this industry only now is starting to, I always say that the blockchain has been over PR'd and under marketed. And I think that we're starting to see much more maturity in that stage right now. So that's what I see a lot of my clients doing. So it's not just about buzz. It's like, oh, there's something more I need to happen. And very interesting to do differentiation between exchanges. Very hard to do differentiation between base products. So it's an interesting space.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I work in the space. Are you rightly saying when you say over PR, less marketed? I'll like to hear Roy's insights about being a founder. What do you think what's happening in the space?
I think nowadays during the Corona time, there, as we said in the previous session, we've had so many companies are entering this market and it's new to them. The SMBs that are now opening shops even on Shopify because their official stores offline have been shut down. So many new businesses are adapting online marketing and it's entirely new field for them. And SEO has always been the low budget solution for to tackle new arenas. So definitely PR and everything is growing and there's a growing need. It's been out there for quite some time. I remember people were doing SEO 20 years ago. They were just saying, how would you promote a result on Alta Vista or Hotbot? But it was always there. And nowadays we're also seeing a shift, especially in the agency. I no longer manage it, but I'm all up to date with what's going on over there. So there's the agency, which I mentioned earlier, that has an incubator for startups. And the agency has recently stopped providing services to enterprises. All the enterprises, the common enterprises, the gas companies, the electric companies, the tourism companies, they've stopped investing into marketing and new players emerged. Mainly in the e-commerce, but even the ones that existed there before, they haven't been used to SEO or to common traditional campaigns, and it's definitely a growing field now. And we're feeling a shift in industries, which is probably going to last at least for the next couple of years before things balance up.
Right. So did you just say that the enterprises are not getting served?
Well, we've noticed that, well, at least in our case, we served plenty of enterprises before the pandemic. As I mentioned, the energy companies and the tourism companies and the major ones, they've kind of cut their budgets. And even if we're referring to technological companies, so let's see, Elbit, for example, that's a public traded company, and they used to be a client, and just during the pandemic they've decided not to shift the efforts or to do them elsewhere, but just cut on marketing budgets 30%, and you see it globally, but then the budgets are shifting elsewhere. We're seeing that. We're seeing, as I said, that the retailers are growing their budgets because the game is changing. They're just making more profit right now, so they need to adapt.
Right.
Maybe Ty could shed more light on this if they're feeling or experiencing the same. But definitely,
I agree with Roy completely. So I don't work with more traditional enterprises, more on the startups, but also Israeli big companies, the unicorn ones, which you think would go more aggressive if they didn't have a very direct Corona, like a Wix style Corona value proposition. I agree with Roy. The first thing that when the board said, let's cut the bleeding. And what do? You cut the things that you don't know are direct. You cut of course, the events. You cut all of that. Just first of all, let's cut the bleeding. And actually, the things that Roy said are very interesting. I didn't even connect it myself, but when you stop promoting yourself, there's still more eyeballs out there, and that's a very interesting opportunity. But again, I work with a different clientele, but I can know that the bigger businesses, the more publicly traded, the more active boards, a lot of players. First thing you do is you stop the bleeding, and then let's wait to see. So I can agree with that sentiment a lot.
Absolutely. Got it. Thank you so much for sharing those insights, both Roy and Itai. Karan Veer, as an investor, what do you see? What's happening in terms of your portfolio companies? What's happening in the space?
Perfect. So something very similar on the lines of what Roy and Itai just mentioned, right? Because India also is an upcoming economy. It's not a developed economy as such. The new players that are entering the market, there's a large set of consumers who are interacting and transacting digitally for the very first time. And thanks to the low data cost in India, that consumer base is sort of accelerated to a huge number, and it's going to keep on coming up, right? We saw tier 1 city populations transacting online, then tier 2, tier 3 cities. Now it's going beyond that as well. So, there's a fintech revolution in parallel that is happening to the online digital consumer revolution. And, it supports your digital e-commerce plays as well, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what we are looking at in India is, of course, all these smaller businesses, they are coming online. They have to. Larger ones were already there. What's happening in India is where the efficiency lacks is that data consolidation is largely absent. I mean, multi-channel data consolidation is absent. So whereas the world or the larger enterprises talk about personalization
Yeah.
when it comes to marketing, right? We went from blanket marketing to segment marketing to one-to-one personalized marketing. Bigger players, sophisticated players are talking about that. However, there is a large group of smaller and mid-scale entities which find it very hard to consolidate multi-channel data, then create relevant consumer personas, and then launch relevant programs. Correct. So I think there are a lot of startups or tech companies that are coming up to cater to this demand. Right.
Right.
First, how do you build the structural foundations of collecting data from different channels? Right. Facebook. In India, SMS has largely been popular. It's been the biggest way of reaching out to customers. It's being taken over by Facebook now, but SMS first, Facebook, and then email. Slowly it'll change. I think by 22, I think it'll change to Facebook. I'm pretty sure. But smaller enterprises need, basic CRM tools to do that. And a lot of companies are coming up to cater to that. So that shift is beginning to happen in India. Whereas, of course, digital adoption has accelerated thanks to Corona, right? Everyone's well aware of that. But if you look at something, which Roy also mentioned, that organizations are cutting their spends on marketing, right? Which is, I'm not sure how good a proposition that is. I've read reports that in the longer run, it's pretty risky actually. However, the investment which was planned to happen into digitization, or let's say more personalization tools, has reduced. But still, people are aware that we want to do this. I think it's only an extended period of time where they've taken a backseat. So that's what we are observing broadly here in India. But good technology coming in to really tap into the consumers.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Karan. I mean, you said that the investments obviously are happening, but the marketing spend is not happening. So where is the spend happening then? Where is the spend going into?
No, so like Roy said, right? They're cutting down the budget. So let's say I was an organization, I wanted to spend in sophisticated marketing technology. I'm going to
Oh,
delay the plans by a year because my revenue has sort of declined. And but slowly, what is going to happen? It's going to come up. So if you look at larger e-commerce players and retailers who were already present digitally, yes, their sales have started to explode. But overall, especially for discretionary consumer products and solutions, revenues have gone down, and it's going to take
right.
some time to pick up. So
Got it.
there you see a lot of problems coming in.
Got it. Got the difference. Thank you so much, Karan. We're now coming over to you, US and the globe. We'd like to know your perspectives about what's happening in the space as well.
Are you asking me?
Yes, please.
I heard US, but I didn't hear my name.
Karina.
Obviously. So I think that one of the things that there's a lot, right? There's marketing tech, there's content building, and then there's big data analytics. And each one of them requires, I feel like, their own time for discussion. Obviously, there's a huge need now, and it is obvious to people too that we need better marketing tech, especially for making the funnels and all that. The whatever it is, the funnel click that we have here is just ridiculous, and don't even get me going there. It's just I personally don't think it works well, and it's disaster. Okay, it's a disaster. So we need to upgrade marketing tech. We need more technologists, brilliant technologists, looking at the marketing opportunities, at digital marketing opportunities, and put their brains into its development, because we're going to be in this online business world for a very long time. And even when we go back to normal, we're still going to have this as a big portion of our lives. A lot of people are not planning to go back traveling, are not planning to go back to personal meetings. And so that's what we're seeing in US. We're seeing that there is a huge need for that, and that this is needed not just for supplements companies, but for financial technologies companies as well, right? And I'm using financial technologies and global capital markets for that too, because it actually is a market that is extremely underserved. Now, of course, when we saw the ICO happen, it was really great for capital markets to observe it, because we really saw that, okay, so what it proved to us is that investors are not unsophisticated anymore. So the term of unsophisticated investor no longer valid. We learned that people do their own research, and that they're hungry for investments, and that they're ready to make their alpha decisions, right? And so I think that that's very important. And so what happened is that we did not have vehicles for that. And we still do not have marketing tools, marketing technology that allows a company to go in, sign up for something, and maybe not a full stack backhand marketing, marketing funnel or whatever you want to call it. You have all these moving pieces and nobody knows how to work it, and you constantly have to hire these experts, and it's a nightmare. Okay, it's a nightmare. And the truth is, the executives do not know what the hell marketing is. They think it's some kind of lady, looking pretty, that's the truth. That's all. The marketing. Oh, hello, my little freak.
Hold on, I think that also changes from market to sector. I can tell that also a lot of people, at least in the Israeli tech, don't know what marketing is. They think it's traffic. And again, buying traffic is part of marketing, but right. Marketing is not just CPA, CPC buying banners. So it's
right. So Itai, I'll come back to you. Irina, I'll come back to Itai. What do you see? So how important is marketing and PR for a startup who is doing an ICO or an IO? Because you see a lot of them. So yeah.
Okay, that's a great question. I think that when you look at a blockchain company, I always say there's two different things. If there's if you're kind of an equity base talking about the product, or if this is a token thing. And in today's token environment, it's almost, again, I'm being kind of frank, we're amongst friends. The product marketing side, unfortunately, is almost not even that important. It's about, as I said, you can be an asset. So today, if you want to launch something on Uniswap and you have a lot of liquidity and you have whatever, so it's going to pop on people's thing because of its performance. It's a ticker. Now, of course, you have to have some kind of things behind it, and it's not just, but you see all these sushi, tunas, whatever, it's no one's even saying there's much of a back end anymore. So if in the ICO it was like, here's a bunch of people that worked at Morgan Stanley and are going to do the new Uber, so that looks like a cool dream, they might do it. Today, in today's market right now, it's if you want to push a technology or whatever, then you're not going to talk about a token, and it has nothing to do with it almost. The future potential of this potential utility token I'm going to buy doesn't have that. So right now people are building these most of the new tokens right now are governance tokens or DAOs or whatever, and they're much more short-term in their, what do you think you're going to gain for it? So I feel like in today's token environment, I have liquidity and I have all these different things. And in the ICO market, it was more like, look at all this potential that I might be able to do because of my ideas and my advisors. So that's, I think, the biggest difference I see today.
All right. So, but what I'm talking about, what ICO did to regulated global capital markets. Okay.
No, I just replied to Sonia's question. That's it. She asked, what's the difference in today's marketing and ICO marketing? So I said that ICOs, we were selling big dreams of platforms we're going to build, and today we're
building.
Most of these but the new tokens are more like these are these cool financial tools, opportunities, and lendings and whatever, which again are really maybe interesting, but they're not promising a future decentralized economy and microeconomies.
Unless they're DeFi, right?
Yeah. Okay, Rina, go on, please.
Yeah. So anyway, also content building, right? Content building is really important. Why? Because and again, I talk a lot about global capital markets and capital markets, regulated capital markets. And in regulated global capital markets, we really do not have enough content building. Content building has to be kind of happening from the beginning of the company, and it can never stop. Usually what happens is that when the fundraising happens, before the fundraising happens, we have this reach, right, to where we need to create content, we need to make sure we announce to the world, we have the press releases that our product is doing something, but that's not enough in the current world anymore. And what's important too, I think that it's clear that a new global currency is attention. And attention has to be...
Filecoin is a great example to what you're saying. Filecoin did a huge ICO, didn't talk to anyone, released a mainnet last week, and no one cared.
Yeah, nobody cared. And so when we think about attention, I like to think of categorized attention. And a company needs to dedicate their resources to different categorized attention. So if you are a company and you're planning to be fundraising, you need to make sure that you are constantly building the pocket, the wallet of funding attention. And funding attention has to constantly be approached with the messaging concentrated directly to investors, because those who are not investors are going to read some article in Forbes or announcement wherever. They're not going to care. And so I think that's very important new thing that we need to concentrate on. And of course, now big data analysis. And a big data analysis is important, and because we have so much garbage information when it comes to data. We are overpolluted with information, and there's no verification of authenticity. And this, I love saying this, blockchain is really important to us, because why for data analysis? Because single source of truth is something extremely new to our realities. I mean, besides the Egyptian pyramids, that survived the fires, the floods, the everything else, we do not have anything else that is kind of a verified, right, that it was there. I mean, even that was interpretation of some kind of knowledge, and we're lost right now to understand what all these things mean. And blockchain technology really brings us that authenticity. So now we're at very immature stages of that, and single source of truth, still a lot of people do not believe that it's something that works. But it is extremely important for big data analysis, because again, in order for us to draw true analytics, we need to have the data that is pure. That is, because as soon as you enter any misinformation into your data sample set, your feedback, your analysis will be wrong. It will be affected, and it will be different. And so that's kind of like the three different things that I wanted to make sure that I cover. Again, each one of them is just a huge discussion on its own.
Yeah. So just want to know, so this big data, so are you also, because do you see also a lot of investments going into this big data startup space?
Yes, a lot. I mean, right now, everything is about data, right? Even when manufacturing, when we look at the manufacturing companies, we need to see what kind of data, what kind of sensors can we put on your devices. Now, everything right now is about harvesting data. And now a lot of people get really excited, and investors get really excited about that data. The more data you have, the better data you have. And, right. They think that we can apply the machine learning or AI maybe in the future. Gary was here, he would say to us that yes, in fact, we are applying, and that future is almost a reality. I would say that just like blockchain technology for the single source of truth, it's extremely young. For the most part, we see machine learning, and it is one of the most valuable things right now. Meanwhile, we are overpolluted with information, so we are keep building our big data pools. Yeah. But on the other hand, we constantly keep coming up with this. I call it garbage information, garbage results nonstop. We are surrounded by all kinds of garbage analytics.
Right. Thank you, Rina, for this. Roy, would like to ask you from a founder's perspective, what was your strategy when you were raising funds, and in terms of PR marketing, what are your strategies right now during the pandemic? You can
Right.
share.
So during the pandemic, obviously VCs have stepped back, right? They said we're gonna save our funds for next year. There are gonna be plenty of opportunities. And if you were backed up during the seed round by angel investors or VCs, obviously they're gonna accompany you down the road. But there are no seed rounds now via VCs. There are angels, there are public capital raise, like Kickstarter projects and stuff. So that's that in terms of capital raising. But I'd actually like to regard to everything other people said on this panel during the past 15 minutes, including Irina. You talked about ICO, and actually a lot of you discussed ICO, but only in terms of initial coin offering, but not in the sense of the Information Commissioner Office, which is another acronym for ICO, also related to the GDPR and the CCPA, and everything you discussed, Irina, regarding authenticity and big data, and the fact that if it's not validated, then we're screwed. And that's true. So every single solution during the pandemic has relied on cookies. We discussed that in the previous session as well, which means nothing is reliable because cookies are obsolete or deprecated. Every single user re-entering websites via incognito or in private browsers is being counted over and over again as a first-time user, corrupting the entire database and the reliability of these measurement tools. You said that integration of marketing automation tools, you mentioned it in another purpose, you said there are plenty of parts you need to connect, and you, Karen, you mentioned personalization and said this is a necessity. So connecting all these dots from the lot of you together regarding the ICOs, personalization and authenticity, and the fact that you said that these tools are premature, I'm happy to say there is a tool that does everything automatically. This is what we've been working on over the past 4 years. This is what we've been raising capital for. And Twig actually does that. It replaces cookies with fingerprinting, making the data 100% accurate and reliable instead of cookies. It saves the marketer the need to integrate SDKs, APIs, connect everything to a single hub, and then take actions, manual actions upon it, and it actually does everything automatically. We identify the goals, we identify the events within the funnel, we use machine learning and artificial intelligence to allow smaller businesses now entering marketplaces such as Shopify, who have no idea about online marketing, personalization, not to mention A/B multivariate testing tools. We enable personalization to these companies with a click of a button. If you actually go to Shopify, Sonny, we discussed that on the previous session. I said in a couple of days, we're going to release our first plugin, so we did. It's now available on Shopify, and it's the first time we've uncovered it or went out of stealth mode to enable SMBs to utilize these kind of tools. So if you were to be a retailer and now you deploy this plugin, you don't need to dive or delve through the data. You don't need to have a marketing automation integrator. You don't need to do all these things. You just click a button. It identifies your site structures. It utilizes more accurate data to personalize the messaging, not by segments manually created, but to each and every single user. We actually offer a trial. That the purpose of this trial is to show you how within 40 days we spike your sales, increase your conversion rates. And I think this is where marketers are focused at, because the budgets you were asking, Sonny, where were they going? They didn't go anywhere. They just dropped. The budgets dropped, the income dropped. They're shifting to other businesses, retailers and SMBs. They're gaining the new income, but it's balancing up. And people don't want to spend so many efforts, a team coordinator, integrate systems, manually maintain them. So now there are new solutions utilizing AI, machine learning, more accurate, reliable data, analyzing the data for you. And in fact, if you install Twig on Shopify now, the onboarding screen is just a 1-minute screen that asks you, what would you like to automate on your website? You hit OK and you're done. It reorganizes your product suite categories, currency conversions. It does everything whilst measuring per every user and segment if it actually increased the revenue, the sales, the conversion rates or not, and therefore it adapts to every user segment. So you've got an automated tool. You click a button, your sales grow. This is something that SMBs could use, whereas everything we discussed before, let's put aside the fact that it's not really relevant if it's not accurate and there's such data discrepancy. But even if it was to be relevant, how would people integrate it? How would the new players of this new era entering now the online arena, how would they integrate such complex tools? So things are shifting to easier solutions. And it is the beginning of this era, but there are already tools doing that, such as Twig. And hopefully we'll be seeing more of these in the coming years.
Excellent. I mean, that's the insights coming from a real entrepreneur. Thank you so much, Roy, for taking us through the journey.
Sure.
Itai, I'd love to know, like, what are the topics that you'd like to share with us today? So you're mute, Itai.
Yeah, sorry, no specific topics. I think that's very interesting what Roy is saying, but I also see right now on the kind of, again, there's also another thing happening in the world right now, which is widespread civil unrest and a lot of protests and a lot of issues, I think, around social media and what they're doing and not doing. And I feel like people are starting to feel that when you let algorithms run us, there's also consequences. And I feel or fear that the way that we're advancing on the Martech side, and again, I agree with Irena that it's still fragmented and whatever, but I feel that there's also going to be a blowback to that in the near future. People aren't going to want to go into a site that will already tell them exactly all the shirts that they want and have the echo chamber of, so people are starting to see the consequences of when optimized algorithms manage your area, because their optimization is not maybe what you want to optimize your life to. Actually, it's the physical, it's the financial gain or whatever of the person holding the algorithm. So I feel like we're going in a very, very fast place, but I also think that we're seeing on the other side, on the news and politics side, not on the consumer behavior, which is also consumer behavior, what are the more dangerous parts. And I just hope that we as technologists or marketers will know how to stop before we bring the world to such divide, which I think we're seeing right now from the big platforms.
Right. Awesome. Fantastic. So Karan, I'd like to ask you, with the startups in the space, how much technology is vital for their business, for scaling up or getting traction? And what are your best practices when you are investing into one such company? And yeah, thank you.
So Sunny, I think it's pretty clear there's no substitute for technology now, right? Because without it, it's going to be a very expensive affair. When it's expensive and when it requires, human intervention, which is unnecessary, you can't scale, right? Very clear, be it a large scale organization, be it a small scale organization. So I think that's pretty much said and done. Uh, Talking about the best practices, there's one thing that many entrepreneurs actually miss out on, and that's why they don't get customers, and if they don't get customers, you also don't get investors, which is not only focusing on technology but also the commercialization of technology, right? How much economical sense that does that tech really mean? I mean, at times it doesn't. If you're going to bring a product which is very sophisticated, but if you're going to bring it for a very young organization, they're not going to buy it, right?
Right.
You got to find that product market fit, which I've seen at least in India, right? I speak from the experience of looking at Indian entrepreneurs. I think this is a major problem, right? They
Right.
go to larger enterprises with products that aren't sophisticated enough, and they go to smaller organizations which with products that are sophisticated beyond the need of the customer. I mean, the customer wouldn't have a problem if they weren't charging them for that level of sophistication, but it can't happen, right? So you got to know your customer. uh,
Right.
I think finding the right tech is essential. Like I said, in India, I've seen that there's a problem of data consolidation from multiple channels, right? Many organizations don't even have a good enough CRM in place, right? So until unless you solve that problem, you can't really talk about a lot of big data analytics. You can't really talk about a lot of AI doing personalization because you don't have clear cut data, right? It's you have to go step by step, and you've got to build on that. And I think that as investors, everybody looks for that fit, right?
Right.
It goes just beyond technology, and in a country like India, which is still developing and still adopting to technology, right? The large mass of it, at least from business perspective, I think these are some essential ideas that need to be taken care of.
Absolutely, Karan. Thank you for sharing those insights with us. And startups and founders is very critical. If you are doing a business in India, these are some of the best practices that investors are looking for. Irina, coming over to you, how big is this data analytics market, and what's the future of the startups from your perspective?
Of all startups, or just the data, big data analytics?
I mean, startups in the space. I mean, yeah, you can just maybe separate those
well,
two.
yeah, that's it's a great question. I think that we're really moving toward smart emotional AI. I think that that's Gary has me convinced with that, and it just does seem like that is a natural progress. I mean, these are important problems. We are building quantum machines now that allow us to really be able to have a broad set of data, right? We do, while we are overpolluted, we do have very narrow data sets, and so how do we test those data is that data is very important. So quantum computers allow us to do it. Quantum theory, it opens up a lot of possibilities for us. Unfortunately, I had to miss our quantum panel discussion on VCTV US because I was totally not in the shape to be able to be speaking. But that's what's happening. We do see funding in US though, and it is happening. A lot of VCs are kind of under the pressure of having to deploy by the end of the year because they did not deploy during earlier kind of the first half of the year, and some of them waited even until the end of the third quarter. And so, now is the time for them. And the reason they do it is because a lot of LPs are feeling the pressure, right? As an LP, you want your fund to be able to deploy, because otherwise, sitting and waiting until next year, it does not really work for limited partners, right? If you collect my money in January, you need to be deploying according to your thesis. And that's another thing too, is that we're seeing a lot of pressure for funds to open up their thesis, because the opportunities are so large right now that just kind of concentrating on one narrative is no longer feasible, right? The whole fabric of traditional venture capitalism is being threatened, in my opinion, right now. Right. It's all getting reformed. We're seeing a lot of alternative fundraising vehicles standing up, and they all threaten the fabric of the existence of very traditional venture capitalism. Now, I don't think Silicon Valley is going anywhere. Silicon Valley power is going anywhere anytime soon. However, while it's all shaking up, we are seeing a lot of opportunities. While a lot of VCs were doing what they're supposed to do, right, in kind of first quarter and second quarter, and that was making sure that their portfolio companies are surviving through this epidemic. At this point, it is no longer acceptable to do that, right? Because if you're an early stage company, you invest in early stage companies, and so you must continue doing so. Interestingly, for digital marketing and the distribution in all this digital world now, it is so important to answer the question for venture capitalists of how do we actually optimize our processes on the back end to be able to live through this, right? Our traditional get introduced, go meet in person, have the dinner, and all this traveling. I mean, it does not work anymore. And so a lot of VCs are thinking about how do we have more sophisticated systems, and that I think is a huge opportunity right now, is having those built. So whoever you are, build that for us, please.
Absolutely, and agree with
I apologize, guys. I have to leave. I apologize. I just have some family stuff. So
okay, Ishai, thank you. Thanks a lot for your time.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Bye. Thank you.
So Roy, we are almost like 45 minutes into this panel, guys. All of you, thank you so much for your time on a Friday. Roy, I would like to take some closing remarks from you. I'm not going to take much of your time on a Friday. I understand it's your weekend, end of the week. So what's your closing remarks for the panel session today, considering it's on content marketing and data analytics? Thank you.
I think I had the opportunity to collect a few more remarks here, so I'll regard to them as well. Itai, just before he left, he mentioned things that relate back to the Social Dilemma movie that was just released in Netflix. And I think in that respect, it's always been there. It's always been there, just that people are suddenly noticing it. And it's not a bad thing that services are improving via personalization. It's actually a brilliant thing. And I think if we discuss what Irina said, which is emotional targeting and dealing with people's emotions, really. So in that respect, I'm not sure if the panelists are aware, but pollens have been utilized by personalization platforms both online and offline for over a decade. I know about 10 years ago, next best offer in offline kiosks already utilized the calculations of whether there's an allergenic pollens alert in an area. Because if there is an allergenic pollens alert, this means you can sell more products because people get mad when the pollens are there, even if you don't have the allergy. So these kind of signals have been analyzed for more than a decade. And the fact that you're entering a social platform and you're seeing a personalized feed, things that are related to you, that's not a bad thing. That's the networks or the advertisers' way of doing a win-win situation. We get more of what it is we're looking for. They get more of what it is they're looking for.
Yep.
But you can't win the audience's attention and get more, get paid by advertisers or perfect your financial business plan without having a win-win situation, because people would not stay. And there's always the 10% that they keep aside for control. So you will always experience new content because they also want to make sure that if there's something else that you might be interested in, you will be exposed to it. So it's not as if it's just 100% of your own bubble. So these solutions are getting better. In regards to the VCs, we discussed everything changing during the Corona time. So I want to discuss the pros of that, just relating to, again, what Irina said 2 minutes ago. American VCs were always all about, you need to shift to the US, you need to build a base there. If you're the CEO of a company, you'll need to relocate. Otherwise, they wouldn't invest. You must have a local base. And nowadays, with everything going to Zoom, they're rethinking this whole strategy, enabling companies from abroad who can't really afford to relocate because they're a bootstrap. They need to focus their efforts on building a company, building the product. The development team is a local team. You don't want to leave them behind and go build the sales infrastructure. So now the VCs are actually enjoying this situation, and another win-win situation, because the VCs were strict on it, but it didn't serve them. So now American VCs are open to investments, and hopefully next year, American VCs, for external companies. So hopefully next year, when they get back into this game, you'll be seeing investments, seed investments and Series A investments that do not require the relocation of the team. And that's going to be a win-win situation, because the team is going to be more fruitful, more prosperous in their own area. And the American VC is going to be involved with other startups that are not necessarily Silicon Valley startups, but also Silicon Valley startups.
That's a very good thing emerged out of the pandemic then. Let's just say that. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. Really something new for me. I'd like to know, what's your feedback about VCTV before I move to other two speakers?
Well, that's the second session now, and I'm really excited to say that it's great. I see new panelists week after week, and great experiences, and everybody's sharing their insights. So I'm really enjoying this, and I hope that the watchers who see us live now enjoy it as well. So thank you for having us.
Thank you, Roy, for those feedback. It's really important for us, because we would like to strive to improve on the feedback based on the speakers. Karan, what's your closing remarks for the session?
I'll actually just take up a point Roy just mentioned about how the VC ecosystem in the US is changing, capital flowing outside of the US, and startups necessarily don't have to set up base in the US. I think what's happening, and good outcome, let's say the coronavirus outbreak perhaps, is VCs are running out of options in the US as well, because there are other markets that are going very big, right? Israel, India. Of course, there's a conflict with China, but won't comment there. But otherwise, there are other markets, right? Southeast Asia, there's a lot of consumer coming up there, businesses coming up there. So what's going to happen is, if the US VCs aren't going to come out and invest outside of the US LPs will come and invest in VCs outside of the US, right? And I think it's going to be a tricky situation for them. So either way, capital is going to flow, because there is the market opportunity that definitely is going to happen. But US happens to be the hotbed of innovation. You can't take it away from them. I think the world has enjoyed great support from them, and I think all over the world you look up to them when you want to learn new technology. So that's going to keep coming out, certainly. And regarding marketing, there's another good shift. We were talking about, the social dilemma, the movie that just came out. What Roy just made me realize is that although there's a degree of protest that's happening because, there's, let's say, an intrusion happening by the giants, personalization is not all that bad. It's just consumerism and capitalism taking shape. But you see, because of that, what is happening, if you look at brands, right, consumer brands, they are moving towards being purpose-driven brands, right? There are social causes that are being taken up by them, especially when you talk about fashion, when you talk about, the F&B brands, the health-oriented brands, nutraceuticals, right? I think this in turn is good for the end consumer as well. And as this particular part of the consumer market expands, it's good in totality, right? And the economy is going to really benefit from it, and so is the consumer. So, in totality, I think technology is working in favor of the mankind, I'd say.
Yeah. I think you touched upon a very good point, Karan, there, like social good and social cause and personalization of data and very targeted to the consumer, especially during these times. And
Correct.
yeah, very good points, Karan. So we'd like to have more on our panels today. Just want to know what's your feedback about VCTV?
Oh, excellent! Actually, but very remarkable setup, right? I really enjoy, especially because it's from around the globe, right? People from around the globe, so many different perspectives. And as a VC, right, we need to learn trends and perspectives from people who happen to sit at different places, and they're talking to more people than we ever can, right? So
Yeah.
it's pretty remarkable, and the candidness is good for us and the audience. So I think I'll be looking forward to joining in on
Thank,
more sessions.
thank you so much, Karan, and
My
we'll
pleasure.
definitely have you back on our panels. Last but not least, Serena, happy Friday and happy weekend for me here as well. What's your closing remarks for the session tonight?
I love hearing, I even wrote it, working toward the good of mankind. And it is so amazing and so wonderful. I think that now it is very important message to have for all companies. I don't care what industry you're in and what stage you're in, you must be able to answer that question in order to get investments in the new world. And I do believe it is expedited because of the experiences that we are going through. It is obvious that it is very, very important. And that's wonderful. You know, it's something that was something that people really did not care about, and a lot of investors did not care about, and now it is something that you must demonstrate. So amazing. That's a good thing about us living through this. So I just love seeing that, and I love those words. The way it sounds is beautiful.
Right.
My closing remarks are that, make sure that no matter what you're doing it for better of mankind. And luckily, it is a good marketing now. People get upset when they say that. When I say that now impact is good marketing, because they think that marketing is something that you manipulate and you make it look like, but that's not the truth. Marketing is what you present to your customers. It's what you present to your investors. And if you present something that is not real, you're going to get caught. So it can't be fake. The best marketing nowadays is authenticity and ability to show how you're making the world a better place. And so marketing, people used to think of marketing as a dirty word. They really did. They thought of a digital marketing as a dirty thing, as like some kind of bad guys doing some kind of bad things, trying to push them. I mean, that's the truth, and it's not true. It's no longer the truth. And it is a very important part of our lives. Right. And we need to build better processes and best practices to make sure that that is something that the filters are built in to make sure that we are protected and our best interests are represented. And the truth is, if you do not have a great internet marketing strategy for your company, you are doomed. I don't care how big your company is. I don't care how well you've done in the world before. In the future, you're going to suffer. And with that closing remark, oh, the doomsday for those that don't adapt. You either sink or you swim. And so if you do not learn how to swim, what's gonna happen? So yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Irina. I mean, your remarks are always very practical. I mean, you just touched upon very practical points like marketing, digital marketing, sales, dirty, as you really said, people say, oh, what's this? I mean, trying to sell me something, trying to sell me market me something, But with the pandemic, I've realized it's about creating an impact. And this is the time they should be actually creating an impact marketing, especially the startups and founders who are looking to raise funds and be it Irina, Karan, or, getting some insights from Roy as well. Please market yourselves well, because this is very key. Especially during this time. And you can always reach out to these people on our website at www.latoken.com/profiles. And you can always pitch to them your great ideas and market your great ideas to them. I'm sure they will be happy to welcome you and listen to you, right? Thank you so much, guys. And thank you so much for giving your time on a Friday. I really appreciate. I always say VCTV is VCTV because of you guys. You make it very special. You make it informative. Thank you so much again. And have a great weekend. And I hope to see you again on Monday. Please, Irina, get well soon, 100%. And I would like to see you again back next week. And rest of you, see you soon again. Take care. And have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Sunny. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.